Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, EM steals my entire vegetable garden. Entitled parent thinks she can stop traffic. Entitled mother thinks the toy her kid stole belongs to him now. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. EM steals my entire vegetable garden. We have a not-so-small vegetable garden in the backyard of my family's house. Me and my mom are the gardeners, and we grow a bunch of zucchini, snap peas, herbs, broccoli, carrots, tomatoes, and even grapes with the occasional other vegetables, radishes, bell peppers, etc. One day I hear something outside my window, which is right above the largest planter box in our garden. I look outside and see two kids from the neighborhood picking vegetables from the planter box. I run out and see the two of them have their arms full of zucchini and carrots and even some tomatoes. I ask what on earth are they doing, and they said we live in the neighborhood. I told them that those are our vegetables, and they can't take them. They just said it's our neighborhood too, we can have them if we want, and they took off before I could stop them, literally vaulting over the small fence that separates our side yard from the neighbors, different neighbors, not the ones that were stealing. A few days later I heard something outside my window again, and I look out and see the kid's mom loading a basket with vegetables from the planter. I again rush out and see that her and her kids are loading baskets with everything they could grab. I watched as the mom grabbed a handful of the chives I had been growing and ripped them out, roots and all. My mom must have heard me run out, because she came out as well. She yelled, asking what they think they were doing, and the kids just kept picking vegetables, while the mom just turned annoyed. "It's everyone's neighborhood, and we need the food," she said, still picking from the garden and desecrating my prized chives. My mom told her that if she had just asked, we would have given the some, and even if it is everyone's neighborhood, is our garden. She just huffed and left with her kids, and there wasn't anything we could do. Our garden was damaged beyond repair. Our zucchini plants were torn to bits, and the peas and tomatoes were trampled and shredded, and our grape bush that we had for years was broken at the base, or one of them had stepped on it. There were no fresh vegetables that year, and my mom couldn't make her chocolate chip zucchini bread. A few days later we installed a lock on the backyard fence, and the neighbors came banging on our door, mad that we installed a lock preventing them from getting into our garden. My mom just told them to go away, and if she saw them in our garden again she would call the cops. We thankfully never saw them again, and our garden is happy now, and we managed to bring the grapes back to life. A little while ago, we planted some blueberry bushes in our front yard. Someone keeps stealing them, and half the blueberries are gone each season. We let the kids in the neighborhood eat them, but they only take maybe like 8 to 10 each a day on weekends or during the summer. There are 10 bushes in total, about 100 to 150 blueberries each. I wonder who is taking 500 blueberries every year. We haven't caught them yet, but everyone knows. My neighbor used to have a sign that said, "Warning, you are under surveillance. Garden thieves and trespassing disputes will be solved with a loaded shotgun on their back gate." I think they hand-painted it and they took it when they moved. I thought it was overkill until our corn, tomatoes, cucumbers and cantaloupe got pilfered in the middle of the night one year. Unfortunately, this kind of entitlement is really common in some areas. I know some of the community garden locations in my area have even been struggling because of large-scale theft/destruction. It's definitely acceptable to call the cops on garden thieves, especially when they are destroying plants as part of their theft. They're literally taking your food, that you need too, and destroying future food in the process. The really messed up part, to me, is that pretty much every gardener I've ever known would happily keep a struggling family well supplied in fresh produce if they're asked. Assuming they had enough to part with some. Most gardeners I know would probably even be willing to help the struggling family start gardening themselves and would be willing to teach some care/harvesting that could be used in foraging and pick your own sites. This kind of theft and destruction is just selfishness and laziness. Security cameras with 2 signs. One warning of the cameras recording 24 hours, and one that reads anyone caught harvesting blueberries without permission will be charged the amount of ridiculously high PR plant touched. Touching the plants constitutes agreement with these terms. Take pics of it all. Mail her the bill the next time she does it. Use a lawyer to scare her into submission. We'll charge 12 cents per blueberry. You should get a motion sensor sprinkler system, but connect it to a tank of slurry instead of water. Very good for the vegetables. Where do you live? You don't have any fences or security walls on your property? We do have a fence, a large one that separates everyone's backyards about average size fence and height, and a smaller one that separates side yards, which has since been removed. Film them, call the police, and have them arrested for theft. Admittedly, I live in the American rural South, but this is the sort of thing that can possibly be met with a shotgun. In fact, sometimes your neighbors will stop people that appear to be trespassing on your property if y'all are friendly enough. My grandfather used to own a lot of land, and on a few occasions over the years, a few potential thieves have taken some birdshot to the hindquarters. Now, I don't advise doing that at all, but I will say that thieves need to know their limits too. I also garden a lot, and last summer had a ton of tomatoes. I went to all my nearby neighbors and gave them some, but I have never ever have someone go directly to my backyard and just start harvesting them. That's just crazy. They should have asked for any extras, and I'm sure you would have given some. Me and my extra large German Shepherd, who loves hanging out with me in the garden, is really amazed with their audacity. Entitled parent thinks she can stop traffic. We have lived in a neighborhood for over 10 years. When deciding to buy/build in this neighborhood, there are multiple lots to choose from, but being that we had small children, we chose a lot in a cul-de-sac at the very end. We chose this lot for specific reasons, the main one being no through traffic, just turnarounds and nub noses, which is manageable. About 7 years ago, they started the next phase of the neighborhood, clearing and prepping the remaining lots for sale. 2 years after that, EM moves in with her husband and small toddler. And where did they decide to buy? Right on the only blind curve in the neighborhood. It's not completely blind, but not a great curve, and people drive the middle of it. Well, this was the beginning of what we can call the millennial entitlement, and I only say that because she was in her 30s and they were your standard millennials, him with her large SUV, aviators, leggings, and highlighted hair, and him with his shirt always off, coif cut and beard, and both with their social media presence. Cookie cutter. Immediately, she started causing trouble with all the neighbors, especially in our cul-de-sac, because this was where the majority of the young drivers lived. She would yell at you if she thought you were going too fast. She put off the little guy with the flag and slow painted on him. She got the boomer down the street involved, and he got his speed gun out. Multiple times, if she was driving in front of you, she would slow down to 15 miles per hour and stomp on her brakes if she thought you were riding her ass. Mind you, the neighborhood is 25 miles per hour, as standard in a residential neighborhood. I drive a stick and can only go so slow in first gear without bucking or putting my clutch in, and one time, because I was driving too close behind her, she slammed on her brakes in front of her house and just stood there, screaming out her window at me. On 2 occasions, I had been behind this woman on the main road, which is 2 lanes, leading to our road. One time, she slammed on her brakes in front of a large, flatbed 2 truck which had to lock up his brakes, just so she could cut someone off in the right lane to make the turn onto our road. A second time, I was in my work truck and she cut me off, me being in the right lane to turn, and her, once again having to get over to turn. How can she be such a traffic bee *TCH when she is a shit driver herself? Every single neighbor on our street had had a run-in with her because she thought we should mind her children rather than her pay attention to them. This is a neighborhood, and all of my neighbors have children and are cognizant of them while driving through, and not one of us had ever had any issues until she moved in. Luckily, this twat moved away and a wonderful couple with 3 gorgeous dogs moved in, and we haven't had an issue since. Good luck to her current neighbors. What's a nub nose? The same thing as a looky-loo. A nosy neighbor that doesn't live on your street or in the cul-de-sac but drives down anyway, very slowly, looking around at everyone's property, sometimes even stopping to get a really good look. My street is 30 miles per hour. I was driving about 25 miles per hour and this guy yelled at me to slow down. It was summer, so my window was down. I said to the guy, "I'm not even doing the speed limit. Calm down." This seemed to enrage him even more. I told him, "Look. If you have a problem with the speed limit, talk to the city. Don't hassle me over it." Then I drove off. Look up the law against blocking traffic. Also look up if your road is state or HOA maintained. Check into impersonating an officer. Lastly, get a dashcam for your car so you can catch them on camera for proof. Wow. Just wow. I mean, how stupid does someone have to be in order to do that? Entitled mother thinks the toy her kid stole belongs to him now. OP, me, EM, entitled mother, SC, selfish child, dad, my dad. So about 10 years ago when I was in 3rd grade I had an Optimus Prime action figure. I carried it everywhere I went. One day I decided to bring it to my 3rd grade classroom. This is where the story starts. SC, whoa, cool toy. OP, oh thanks, I got it last week. SC, can I play with it? OP, sure, here, hands him the toy, just make sure to give it back. SC, totally absorbed by the toy, not really listening. So SC keeps the toy for the rest of the day. I'm fine with this, because I know that no matter what I'll just get it back at the end of the day. The one weird thing I notice is that he's telling other kids that it's his toy and that he's being very rough with it. So through the rest of the day he keeps it, and now it's finally the end of the day. I ask him for the toy back and he asks if he can bring it home. I say no and he gives it back, but he doesn't seem very happy about it. His mom picks him up and my dad picks me up. Fast forward to the next day. I bring the toy to school again today because I didn't really get to play with it at all the day before. I play with it a bit too much and the teacher tells me to put it away, so I put it in my cubby, and while I do so I see SC eyeing it. At recess I go outside and play with my friends. By the time I get back I notice my toy isn't there. I walk into class confused at where it went and see SC playing with it. When he sees me he quickly puts it away and pretends like he doesn't see me. Hey SC, can I have my toy back? SC, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw you playing with it, please give it back. SC, yelling, I don't have your dumb toy. By now the teacher's noticed us and is walking over. Teacher, boys, what is going on? SC, is yelling at me and saying that I stole his toy. This teacher absolutely hated me because I spaced out a lot during class due to my ADHD. Teacher, well, did you? SC, no, I didn't steal it. Teacher, well then it's settled. You have detention tomorrow at lunch for accusing SC of stealing from you. By now I'm just sitting there crying because this kid stole my toy and is getting away with it, as well as having me be punished for it. I wait until the end of the day for my dad to pick me up. On the car ride home I tell him everything that happened and he tells me that I should ask SC back for the toy tomorrow. For the next 4 days I ask him back for it. The first 2 days he just denied having it and the last 2 he just says he doesn't have to give it back because it's his now. You see, it turns out I was actually transferring G schools because of how hair to me the one I currently went to was. The only problem was that SC still had my toy. After I transfer I tell my dad that I never got my toy back and he's furious. After my school's ends he drives over to my old school and confronts EM. Dad, excuse me EM, but I think your child has a toy he took from my son, points at stolen toy which you see is carrying. EM, oh sorry, you're mistaken, that's my son's toy. Dad, but he took it from my son. EM, so? Dad, so it's not his. EM, what do you mean of course it's his? Your son made him steal it by forcing him to play with it, basically just rubbing it in his face. Dad, EM, please just give it back to OP. EM, no, your son is a rotten child who forced SC to steal. My child deserves it for all that OP has put him through. My dad is a very nice guy and you can tell he really didn't want to argue with EM. Dad, please EM, just give OP his toy back. EM, no, it's SC's. By now they've made enough of a scene that other parents have started to gather around, and it turns out that a bunch of other kids have also been stolen from by SEM is scrambling for an excuse and just ends up trying to blame me and my dad for bullying her son into stealing from other kids. Nobody believes a word she says and she's forced to give me my toy back, although SC doesn't give it up easily, kicking and screaming like a little goblin. In the end, the principal ended up hearing about EM and SC's behavior and ended up having SC suspended for 3 weeks for stealing from multiple kids. He also has SC return all the things he stole from other kids, which totaled to more than $300 worth of stuff. In the end, I got my toy back and EM and SC got exposed for who they truly are. I have a feeling this kid is spending time in juvenile hall and will probably spend the rest of his life in and out of jail. And his mother will tell people that he couldn't help stealing that car, and they deserved it anyway because her baby had just lost his job, also for stealing. A future prisoner in the making. Actually, my friend who was in some of his classes in high school told me that he still hasn't stopped stealing, but it's gone from other classmates to stores, already been arrested twice. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.